All right, the tricky part about going live without an intro video is I don't have that little ramp up period where I can wait and see from the time that I click on go live to the time that it's actually live. It actually creates like a little ramp up for you. So, this is Brenda Muller. Good morning and welcome. This is another impromptu LinkedIn Live, and I'm continuing on with the topic I did yesterday, which, if you were watching yesterday, you may recall we were talking about the Do This Now checklist that I've created for individuals who are in career transition. And I'm going to continue on with it. I noticed yesterday as I was going through, I think I skipped a section. So I want to go backtrack a little bit and cover a few additional topics on that list. And let me see, we're going to cover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 topics today. And if you're watching this on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever you're watching it from, I'd love if you could drop a comment below. If you are in the US, you know that we're celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow, and I'm curious what kind of pie you're going to be having tomorrow. So drop into the comments what kind of pie you're having. And this also is a little bit of my mic check. It's like me tapping my mic saying, can you hear me in the back? Right? When we're doing live streams, it's a little bit different. There's a few ways of knowing if the live stream actually is picking up. One of which is, and I'm going to do this right now, opening another window and just seeing if the live stream popped up there. So I'm broadcasting this live on my Brenda Muller feed on LinkedIn, on my YouTube channel, which is Brenda Muller Marketing, and then on my Facebook page for Muller Marketing. I had to think about that for just a second. So what I'm doing right now is I've just popped another window open in the background where I can see myself talking, and I know that the live stream is working. It's showing me there's 17 people, and I have not seen a one of you yet dropping to tell me what kind of pie you're having for Thanksgiving. Maybe you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, you're in a different part of the world. If so, just say hello. Just put a quick little hi or hello in the comments. That lets me know that the live stream is actually working, because what I found, sometimes technology doesn't play nicely. I love technology, don't get me wrong, but sometimes technology doesn't work. So the live stream might say it's working, but until I see people actually in the comments saying good morning, hello, welcome, or they tell me their favorite kind of pie or what they're having for Thanksgiving, like Jill just did right now. Thank you so much, Jill. Then I know that the live stream is working and that my mic tap is efficient and we can move on. I see other folks that are going to be popping in the comments as well. Thank you so much for doing that, Wisdom. All right, so here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my screen. Hey, Greg. Hey to you. Greg, you want to hear something funny? I got an email. I sent out an email yesterday, I should say. I sent out an email yesterday. And by the way, if you're not already on my VIP email list, I would highly recommend you jump on by going to mellermarketing.com/subscribe. I've been trying some different approaches in my email. And one is I'm trying not to be so stiff. I'm trying to be a little bit more conversational. So, Greg, this is what I did. Yesterday's email, I said, hey there. And then there's a way that you can like pull in the person's name using the email automation thing, right? You plug in their first name from when they signed up for your email. So I said, hey there, Greg. And then I went on to talk about, this is Thanksgiving week. It's my week because I love pie. And I'm wondering what kind of pie you're all having. And I was talking about the pies we're making in my family. And then I also let people know about the video that I did yesterday. And I got a bunch of people replying. It was a really effective technique in engaging with people, and not in a non-salesy way, just engaging with humans, human to human, right? And probably, probably 99.9% of the responses to that email were positive. People sharing pie with me, telling me they caught my live video or thanking me for the playback. But one person said, just some feedback when you said, hey there, whatever the person's name was, she kind of felt like that was a little bit unprofessional. And she said it was a little bit off-putting. And I said, oh, I didn't think about that way. And that was, audience of one. So I have to kind of consider, is this what the personality I'm trying to portray, or is it too casual? Should I be a little bit more professional? So I'm noodling that around in my head right now. I don't really have a problem saying, hey there, Greg, for example, in an email, because it does sound casual. It sounds like more of a one-to-one message. I won't ever say, hi, Greg, I hope this email finds you well. I don't like those little traits things at the beginning of email, but I do like trying some different techniques. So at any rate, if you're interested in getting on my email list, go to mellermarketing.com/subscribe. And I'm always sharing LinkedIn strategy tips. And sometimes when I do impromptu videos like this, I will send you the playback after in case you missed it live. All right, so I'm piloting and co-piloting. So what I'm going to do right now, and I'm going to walk you through what I'm doing. I'm going into StreamYard. I'm clicking on share screen, and I'm going to go to, I've got a page set up in another tab, which is my Do This Now presentation. And I'm going to pull this up to large screen mode. Hey, look, it's me and me, right? I started doing this with live videos right before I go on. I create this cover graphic with me wearing the actual attire that I'm wearing. So you actually can see, and there's some brand continuity going back and forth in there. All right. So as we are getting started here today, I want to remind everyone what it is that I am doing. I created a checklist for people who are in career transition. I call this Do This Now. You can go to my website and you can download your free copy at mellermarketing.com/do this now, or the QR codes are super easy. I'm not sure if you've tried these lately, but all you need to do is pull open your phone with your camera, just like I'm doing. Look, I got one Brenda, two Brenda, three Brendas right now. Crazy. And I'm going to hold my camera over in front of the QR code. You remember before when QR codes first came out, you have to had a special QR app. You don't have to have that anymore. So all you need to do is hold your camera in front of it. And then what's going to happen, let me just take a screen capture so you can see on my view of this, is I'm actually taking a picture because when I flip it the other way, it's going to go away. But what will happen is on your phone, it will show you the QR code, and you see that little yellow. Let me stop the screen share just for a second. Remove that. Okay, so you'll see like a little yellow thing that will hover over. I don't think it's going to get super tight there, but that says the web address that it will go to. And you can see the web address says mellermarketing.com. If you click on it, what will happen is it will actually take you to the landing page where you can download a copy of that. And by the way, you're doing this from your phone, and you might say, well, I don't want to download something on my phone because I'm not going to be able to get to it. Look, I got you there. I'm thinking of you. I'm like one step ahead of you there. What will happen is, in addition to being able to download it from your desktop, I'll also email it to you. So you can come back and look at this later. See, I got you. I was right there. We're right on the same wavelength. All right. So yesterday we talked about some legal documents, some legal things to keep in mind as you are in career transition. Today, I want to move into some additional thoughts on benefits. Things that you may not be aware of, you're not thinking of when you are laid off, let go from a job, etc. It's a very emotional time, and your mind kind of just gets frozen in. You almost get paralyzed in thought, thinking about paychecks and mortgages and bills that you have due and the holidays that are coming up and all these crazy things. And it might be really challenging to think beyond, just what's happening in your head freezing, right? The other thing I want to say is we've got the holidays coming up. Wherever you are in the world, you've got some holidays on the horizon. You're going to be getting together with family, and you're going to be asked that question, how's your job search coming? Right? And you may even be dreading it. Like, I don't want everyone to ask me how my job search is. They know I'm unemployed. They know I've been let go. They know I'm laid off. They know it's devastating. I don't want to talk about it. But we as human beings, we want to show support to our fellow family and friends by asking the question, how are things going? Here's what I want to offer to all of you. If you are in career transition, unemployed, you've been laid off, let go, etc., I want you to say, I'm gaining some momentum because I'm working off this checklist that I saw on this LinkedIn the other day. It's called Do This Now. And here's a couple things I learned, for example. And you might want to share that with people. You can tell them about it because it shows that you're doing some things differently. Like, well, nothing happening right now, right? I want to show you some things that you can start to think about and incorporate into your job search. All right. So here's some things. We're going to talk about benefits. When you have been let go from your employer, there may be some things covered in your HR manual that you may not even be aware of. And hopefully you've downloaded a copy, or you have a hard copy of the the employee manual that you got when you started at the company. If the organization did have one, look through and see if there's any mention about services such as outplacement services, for example. And this is a tip that was mentioned to me by my friend Sue Griffey. By the way, I would love it if someone in the audience could tag in Sue and let her know that we're talking about her right now. She's a cheerleader, and she brings on pom poms. She's not literally a cheerleader, but she is a big supporter. But she has pom poms on my Friday calls, and she's a big supporter and advocate for helping people that are in career transition, unemployed, job seekers, etc. And this was her tip: review your employee manual because there may be benefits that you're entitled to get still, even though you've been let go from the company. Or, there may be even benefits if they're saying we're going to keep you on the books until the end of November or the end of December. You may have other outplacement or other services, for example, mental health counseling. You may still have that available to you, and you may want to reach out. There may be legal services that you're entitled to receive. My husband, a few jobs ago, he had access to a service called Legal Shield. He had signed up for it. And as a result, I was able to sign on to get a rider for my business. And then when he left the company, I was able to keep that policy. And now I have access to talk to an attorney anytime I want for a very low monthly fee. I think it's like $50 a month. And I can email them things, I can ask them questions. So make sure that you're reviewing that manual to see what are the benefits that you are entitled to as an employee, or if there are any mention of outplacement services or things that are available to you after you leave the company, and especially if you have been asked to leave by the company, if you've been laid off, etc. So make sure that you do that. I hope that Sue got a notification that we're talking about here this morning. And I want to see a couple more folks that are on here. Brittany, there is a lag. It's like about 30 seconds. It's between 20 to 30 seconds, which is part of the reason I will typically do an intro video when I have a guest with me. When I'm solo, it just seems like it's a lot of work to do an intro video, and I'd rather have my face be the first thing that you see, not my cover title. So I don't know. It's just something with that connection on there. Good morning to you, Val. Hope you are doing well. Thank you for joining. I see Pablo says he is either having pecan pie or that's your favorite pie, but nice to see you. Very berry pie. Greg, here in Michigan, there's a restaurant bakery called Grand Traverse Pie Company, and they have a pie. It's like triple berry. So I think it's strawberry, blueberry, raspberry, if not mistaken, something like that. It's a really good one. Val, lucky you, your husband is making apple pie for tomorrow. Is it going to be like a double crust, a crumb topping? I wonder what kind that will be. Greg agrees with me. We were talking about the email greetings. I like the casual, so I don't know. I'm going to give it a try again. We'll see what happens. I may try that casual approach. And let's see here. William, I'm not sure if you were referring to the hey there type of a thing or not. This was an email that I sent out to my entire email list. I think I've got a little over 3,000 people on the list right now. It was really more of a casual Thanksgiving greeting, but it wasn't just happy Thanksgiving with a stock photo of turkey and pies, right? It was more of a casual greeting for me is what it was. It was just an email I designed to be more of a one-to-one type of an approach. But yeah, I think depending on the audience, you want to tailor your message and tailor the type of communication. If I'm speaking to a corporate client, I wouldn't use hey there. This was more of a greeting to almost a friend type of thing. But yeah, I think there can be different approaches to keep in mind. Thank you, Val, for tagging in Sue. I see Ankush is watching us and Gail as well. Awesome. So thank you guys for dropping your comments in. If you are just joining us, my name is Brenda Meller. My company is Meller Marketing, and I help you to get a bigger slice of the LinkedIn pie. And right now I'm working on some new things to help the experience-rich job seeker. What do I mean by that? Experience rich, you are age 50 or better, and you are using LinkedIn to help to find a new job either in 2022 or going into 2023. One of the resources I've created is this Do This Now checklist. And I'm going to go on to the next slide right now and talk about an additional topic within the category of benefits. And this is if you are unemployed and you have not already done so, you need to consider filing for unemployment. And I want to read this to you right now. Most likely you have been paying into your state's unemployment system through your payroll deductions throughout your career. Okay, so you've been paying into the system. When you've been let go, that means the company has terminated your employment. You're entitled to apply for unemployment pay. And if you're not sure how to do this process, literally go into Google and type in how to file for unemployment in Michigan or how to file for unemployment in Florida. They're going to have websites that will direct you to your state's unemployment benefit office, and they'll give you instructions on how to apply. The great thing with the pandemic is a lot of these things can be done completely online. You don't have to go in person. Your local branch may require some type of a certification in person, but do keep in mind, you can find the instructions online there. Okay. And again, take your pride, put it on a shelf, because I know some of you might be thinking, unemployment, I'm not going to file for unemployment. I'm not one of those people, right? What do you mean by those people? You've been paying into it. It's almost like we think about, we have, insurance for our house, our homeowner's insurance. We have car insurance. You might have medical insurance or life insurance or other benefits, right? Now, something happens to your house. Let's say you have a fire. You've been paying in for your homeowner's insurance. Wouldn't you file a claim to get money from the insurance? Yes, absolutely. So why wouldn't you do the same thing for unemployment? You've been paying into that system. That's your money. You need to go after it. Okay. So do keep in mind that is your money. Okay. Don't think about it like you're letting yourself down or whatnot by filing for unemployment. That is what the system exists for. And that's why we don't get a choice to pay into it, right? It's taken out of our paycheck. So choose to apply for those benefits. Do not feel guilty or embarrassed. I've applied for and I've gotten unemployment benefits in my career as well. Um, and it's not a lot. It's not going to cover your entire paycheck, but it will help you to offset some of the bills that you have. So don't worry about it. Do it. Even I've done it. Okay. So, hey, Brenda Meller filed for unemployment and I'm still standing, right? So I would highly encourage you to do so as well. It is your money. Okay. Go after it. Keep in mind there might be a time frame in which you need to apply. So do so as soon as possible after you have been laid off. Okay. And there may be a grace period. You may not, if you don't file soon enough, you may be ineligible for a certain number of weeks until you do start applying. I don't know all the time frames within the state and area you're in, so make sure that you look up for your local area to see what is available for you. All right. Are you all finding these helpful, these tips so far? If you are, I'd love it if you could say yes in the comment right now, and that lets me know that the tips are benefiting you, that you're reaching them. And I'm just going to do a quick refresh in the background to see how we're doing in terms of folks that are commenting, because sometimes I do get a little bit of that delay that's happening. It looks like still folks are still on here. So awesome. Okay, so I'm going to wait for those comments. And what happens, there's about a 20 to 30-second delay. So from the time that I say it, there's a 20 to 30-second delay. And then you all have to go into your comments and type something in. That might take 5 or 10 seconds. And then you click on send and it comes up on screen. And that's going to take potentially another 20 or 30 seconds. So this could be a minute delay from the time I say, tell me, yes, this was helpful, until I see your yes comments starting to come in. So what I'll do is I'm going to start to move on to the next item within benefits, which is getting clear on what's next. And this is a suggestion offered for my dear friend, Jude Gall. Hey, Jude. I have to say it every time I say her name. Jude, I want, if anyone is able to do so, I'd love for you to tag in Jude and tell her that we talked about her, and just tag in, hey, Jude, we're talking about you, right? You can say, hey, Jude, right? So please tag her in. And I do see we had a question coming in from William. William says, wasn't sure if I can apply while I am still being paid. That is an excellent question, William. I'm not going to be able to give you a straight answer, because my understanding is this, and this is based on my own personal experience. If you leave an employer and they give you, they have a separation agreement that you signed, and they say, we're going to give you X dollars, as you know, as you know, pay in leaving the company, but if they say X dollars in pay to cover you through December 31st, then my understanding is you would not be able to apply for benefits until January 1st. However, if you leave the company and they say, we're giving you X dollars, the letter doesn't specify a time frame, and you're no longer getting a paycheck, as soon as you've cashed that check, my understanding is the next week you would be eligible to apply for and to obtain, if you get approved, those unemployment benefits rather. So that's my understanding. William, my advice for you is talk to your local unemployment office. Make sure that you're being truthful and honest with the information that you are sharing with them. If they say, did you receive any separation pay? You have to tell them yes. If they ask you how much, you have to tell them how much. If they say, what was the time period that this was covering? If the employer doesn't say this is covering your pay through December 31st, you just say it was covering my employment that ended as of September 15th. Okay. I'm not lying there. I'm being truthful and honest. This is the amount that they came up with based on the length of service I had for the company. Nowhere in the letter does it say that it's covering my pay moving forward. Okay. So be honest, be truthful about this. I have heard of some people where they've applied for unemployment benefits. They had a separation agreement, and then it was contested by the state. So they had to go in front of a judge and make sure that they were doing everything on the up and up. Okay. So make sure that you're being truthful and honest with this. If you are still being paid, you may have to wait until after. But if I were you, William, I'd get in that conversation now with the unemployment office to figure it out, because you don't want to go too long and then you lose that threshold in which you can apply. So hopefully that helps you out. You're welcome, William. Happy to help you. Val is adding on, and she says last year she received 12 weeks severance pay, applied for unemployment after the severance ended. My state, Massachusetts, has 26 weeks unemployment. So very good to Thank you so much for sharing that, Val. Yeah, I mean, unemployment, we pay into it. We should get out of it, right? That's our money. So good thing. All right. So Jude again says, get clear on what's next. After filing for employment insurance benefits, take a week off. Take time to review everything, your values, your skills, your attributes, and think about what you want to do next. You maybe throughout your career, you've never had the luxury of being able to do that because you're like nose to the grindstone, doing the job, doing the work, right? Maybe you've never thought about what you want to do next. This will help you to get clear on what to do next, which in the long term will save a lot of time and help you get clear on what you want. Thank you for that advice, Jude. I was on a LinkedIn audio event this morning with blanking Samantha. She's a Twitter person. I can't remember her last name. If you know her, tag her in comments. But we were talking about what to do if you've been let go from a job and you didn't see it coming. Like, what should you do next? And the person that she had on with her, we were talking about the fact that when you have been let go from a company, it's a bit like going through stages of grief, anger, shock, maybe resentment, acceptance, maybe relief in some aspects, especially if you've been caring for somebody who's been ill and there's been a lot of pain and angst building up over time. And then you feel guilty for feeling that relief. And then it's a little roller coaster, and it's not necessarily a linear process. When you lose a job, similarly, it is not a linear process. You will be angry at times. You will be relieved at times. You will be happy at times. You will feel disappointed. Your confidence is going to dip to new lows, and you're not necessarily always going to be in a great place. So it is good to let yourself feel the feelings that you have. When I was let go from my last job, I was given a time frame, and they said you have 3 months. And I came back a week later, and I said, no, today's my last day. And I held my head high, and I left the organization. And it wasn't my choice to leave, but it was my choice to leave on that timeline, right? It was devastating. It was a job that I loved, and I was well respected by my peers within my industry, within the organization. I was looking for a job at the time, but I didn't think that was going to happen to me. Over the next week, and I remember this was in the summer, over the next week, I was sitting out in my backyard and I was just crying, 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 crying. And I remember at one point my husband came out and said, "You got to stop doing this to yourself." And I said, "No, I have to let myself do this because I need to get all of these sadness emotions out of me." It's almost like when you work out, you sweat, right? When you're going through an emotional standpoint, I think sometimes it's good to let yourself have those feelings, let the tears flow, get them all out. And you find sometimes that you get to a point where you just cry so much that you can't cry anymore because the emotions aren't there to support the tears anymore, right? And that's what I did. I allowed myself to cry really hard every day for a week. And then I kind of wiped it off, got up, and I started going out to lunches and coffees and networking events and throwing myself back into the job search. So, with that said, Jude's point on, giving yourself time to think about what you want to do next is very important, because what you did before doesn't necessarily need to be what you do next. Okay. Give yourself permission to really think big picture. What would you like to do? If you could do anything in the world, what would you do? It's not over until it's over. Even if you are the age of 50 or 55 or 60, maybe you've always wanted to be a teacher. What would it take to get there? Maybe it would just be another year or two of education or certification and moving on to a new path. Maybe you've always wanted to start your own business. That path could be certainly shorter than a few years. You can start right away even, right? So give yourself permission to think about what are the possibilities of where you could go next, and do almost like an inventory of those things as you was suggesting. All right, I think we got a couple more to go on here. And we're going to shift gears now and go into resources. So what I realized in watching the playback of yesterday's videos, I think I had a couple of benefits and then I went into resources. So I want to backtrack and cover the items that we didn't do. And the first is get clarification on references. So when you leave a job on your way out of the organization, or maybe even the days and the weeks after, you're going to have coworkers, maybe your managers, your peers, etc., reaching out to you. And some people might say, happy to provide a reference for you. Okay. Get clear on what that means. And this is from someone who is a part of my Friday job seeker group. They said this: ask what their process is if a future employer calls to ask for a reference. If they offer to give you a reference, ask for it to be general. Okay. I want to add on to that and say if you have a coworker, somebody in another group, maybe vendors, clients, etc., that say if you need a reference, let me know. I'd be happy to give you one. What I would say is, thank you, Greg. I'm going to use Greg because he's in the audience today. Thank you, Greg. That would mean a lot to me. If I'm connected with Greg on LinkedIn, I would say, actually, what would be even better is could you give me a LinkedIn recommendation? That'll actually be public. It's on my profile and it would mean a lot to me. And I could even help to start to write it for you if you'd like. You can offer that out to him. And the Gregs of the world, your superstar supporters are going to say, absolutely, and I'll do it today because they are motivated. They might feel bad for you in your situation. They know that you are a great employee. You'd make someone a great hire, and they would strike while the iron's hot, right? And do that. So, adding on to that, your employer may only be able to provide a reference according to the HR, the legal people, right? They might say, we can only verify if she worked here on the dates of employment. They're not going to tell you anything more than that. Your manager might be able to give you a good glowing reference, but HR might be holding their hands on allowing them to say anything nice about you because of the potential of a lawsuit in the future, right? So I would say if you can get them to give you a recommendation on LinkedIn, that would be great because that can be public. And that's something that you could also, and I did this too when I was in job search mode, you can merchandise. I created like on my cover letter, I had like a left side banner and I pulled a couple snippets from LinkedIn recommendations from people. And I remember one of the companies I was interviewing for, I sent my cover letter in with my resume and the cover letter. I had tailored a couple of those LinkedIn recommendations. I think I had two or three, and it was only like a one line from each of the recommendations. And they called me and they said, "You were almost too good to believe." Like they said, I had to look up on LinkedIn to see if these people actually said these things about you because it was so good. Like they said, "You're such a good marketer because you're marketing yourself." Right. And I said, "Thank you." And I don't remember what that company was. I ended up going into business for myself and I'm really happy with that. But the fact was that technique helped them to decide to call me in for an interview. So could be something that you could consider as well, getting those LinkedIn recommendations. All right, I'm going to move along here. We're talking today about some tips from my Do This Now checklist. And for those of you who are joining us a few minutes later, maybe you didn't catch the beginning of the segment here. This is from this downloadable checklist that I've created. It's called Do This Now. So if you go to my website, mellermarketing.com/do this now, you can download the checklist yourself, or if you hold your phone, like just like I'm doing right now, like you're going to take a picture of the QR code, do this right now and do this now, right? If you do so, you're going to get like a link that will pop up on your phone. And all you need to do is give me your name and email, and I will email that to you. And you get a PDF copy of that you can look through later. And don't be shy about this too. If you know someone over the next couple of days, if you're celebrating Thanksgiving, right? If you know someone that you're going to be celebrating with, family member, friend, etc., that is let go, unemployed, laid off, whatever you want to call it, say, hey, I was just watching this LinkedIn video the other day, and this woman, Brenda Meller, she's got this Do This Now checklist. Let me forward the email to you. Okay. So don't be shy about this. Go ahead and download it for yourself, download it for a friend, share it along with people. And again, it's a good conversation starter when people say, how's that job search coming along? You could say, actually, I just downloaded this really great checklist that I'm working through right now. So you can use that to kind of, instead of just say, oh, it's going okay, right? And dreading that conversation, you can use it as a good conversation starter. All right, we're going to move along and move on to, I think we might have one or two more pages on here. But this is an additional resource. And this is the tip here is find local resources. Uh, each of us, at least here in the US, we pay taxes to our local government, our state government, our federal government, etc. And part of those taxes go to support our local services, including fire, police, and our library and our school systems, etc. Right? So go to your local library. And for me, there's a library that's less than a mile away. There's another one that's probably 3 miles that way, and another one about 5 to 10 miles the other direction. So there's multiple libraries within probably a 10 to 15 minute drive of me. Um, Go and figure out from those local libraries or your local unemployment office what are the free resources that are available to me. And here's what I would do if I were you. Walk into the library, go up to the reference desk and say, I'm just wondering if you are aware of any resources for people that are job seekers. And they're going to say yes. And they might point you to a certain area within the library that has resume worksheets and local resources, et cetera, et cetera. The librarian might say, well, I don't, well, let me take you to Kathy, who is overseeing our community resources. And then she might walk you over to the computer and say, actually, you can get on LinkedIn Learning with our library license and watch all those videos for free. So they might give you some information about that. There's going to be somebody there that's able to help you. And they might say, well, Joe's the person, or Greg, right? We have Greg on with us. Greg's the person who handles that. And today's Saturday. He only works Monday through Friday. But here's how to get a hold of him. Come back during the week and you can talk to him then, right? So don't be shy. Figure out the local resources. Ask around, figure out where the library is nearby. Go walk in. Don't just go on their website. Go walk in and talk to them and ask them what resources are available to job seekers. Mention that, and I would walk into my local library and I might say, I'm a Fraser resident. I have a library card here at the library. I'm wondering what resources are available to me as a library patron, right? You don't need to mention that, but you could certainly throw that in and ask around, because you may not be aware that there's an unemployment office less than 5 miles from you, because you never had to use it before, right? But don't be shy about using that and checking out that reference. All right, I think we've got this one, maybe the last one I'm going to cover for today. I think it will be. So this is an additional tip. And by the way, do you like these tips? If so, give me a yes in comments so I know that it's helpful for you. This is a tip about knowing your worth. Oh, I just have to pause on this and just think about this, because I remember these days. You're unemployed. You're worried about your paycheck. Now you got to start interviewing for a job, right? And you start getting into those conversations for positions, and they say, what are you looking to make? Right? That question about salary. Um, I recommend that you go in and say, I was making X at my last job, because X at your last job may be less than you should be compensated. So let me read this first, and then I'm going to drop some of the links into, I'm going to pull them up on screen, and then I'm also going to drop them into the LinkedIn chat. I'll put them on YouTube as well. This is some advice from Paula Frankowiak. Paula, hopefully I've said your name correctly. If someone could tag in Paula in comments, I would greatly appreciate it. Paula offered this advice. She said this: research salaries for targeted jobs on sites like salary.com, payscale.com, and glassdoor.com. Your last salary may not be reflective of market value. Okay. We all have to do what is best for us. However, if you have to take a job where the pay is low because you have to pay the bills, that doesn't mean you have to stop looking for a job that will pay your worth. So that was some great advice from Paula. I think the first part might have been from me, because those are the websites I use. And the second part was from Paula, talking about you might need to take a job for now with the intention of just having a job, having benefits to get you through until the market rebounds, or until you've had some time to kind of look around for something else. Okay. So as you are doing that, thank you, Val, for tagging in Paula. I appreciate it. As you are doing that, I want you to think about looking up on these websites. And I think this might be the last page. So here's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to go to www.payscale.com. And by the way, this is not sponsored or endorsed by PayScale. I just like these websites. And many of these websites, I think what you're going to have to do is set up your own account first, and then you can request salary ranges. Now, what I would recommend that you do when you're looking up these salary ranges is make sure that you are looking at job title, if you're putting in geographic area, and if you're interviewing with a specific company, try to put in as many of the criteria as you can: number of employees, annual revenue, the city it's located in, etc. Education, that might be a requirement. Now, ladies, do not put in gender, because if you put in female, the pay scale is going to be lower. I don't agree with it. That's a whole other topic for another day, but do not put in gender. If you don't put in gender, the pay scale is going to be higher on there. Okay. So what I would do is I would literally not just go on to payscale.com, but I would look at the other three as well. And I'm going to toggle back and forth here, because I want to pull back in the other two documents as well. So this is another one. Payscale.one is one. I'm sorry. Payscale is one. Salary.com is the second. This one's fairly well known, and I think you can do a free version. I think there's a paid version of salary.com. But what I would do is I would look up on all three websites: payscale.com, salary.com, and then maybe glassdoor.com. Um, LinkedIn does have or used to have salaries as well. I'm not sure how much they're used. First time I heard it was probably about, gosh, 12 years ago. And it was like the data is only as good as the amount of input, right? So if you have a small survey size, it's not going to be that valid. And I don't think people were as willing to give their salaries on LinkedIn because they always were worried their employers were going to see it. But I do like using external websites, payscale.com, salary.com, and glassdoor.com. You can look up salaries for careers in those three. And I think Val, you put in onet.com as well as another resource. So what I would do if I were all of you is I would look up salary ranges on all three of those, and I would actually go through and print up the reports that you had from all of those organizations. And that way, when you get asked the question in that either phone screen interview or the live interview, and they say, "What are you looking to make?" Here's what you do. You don't just say, "Well, I was making X on my last job." What you do instead is you say, "Well, I've done research, and according to salary.com, payscale.com, and glassdoor.com, a marketing director in Metro Detroit at a company with 500 to 1,000 employees, which is your size, within the professional services industry, should be making between 60 to 80,000." I'm just making that up. Ballpark, it's probably about right, but between 60 and 80,000. Based on my level of experience and the requirements for your job, I believe I would be more towards the upper end of that range. How does that line up with the salary range that you're offering for this position? So now you're using your responses from a data driven perspective, not a personal perspective. Well, I need to make X because I've got a big house and a car payment. Like, who cares? I mean, we do care, but that is not an answer that an employer is going to say, "Well, I feel really bad for her because she's got a big mortgage and two kids going to college." They're not going to give you the salary you want because of that. You need to use data as the conversation starter there. Data is going to help to assess what is the market value. Okay. And this is reputable sources that you can use for all three of those on there. All right. I think that is about it for today. So let me just stop sharing my screen here so you can see my lovely face up on camera here. The funny thing is, I do a lot of these live videos, but I don't like looking at myself. I don't know if anyone else is the same way as well. It's really weird to look at yourself on camera. So when I'm in larger screen mode, I'm like, I don't want to look at myself. But I try to focus more on the technical elements versus, looking at myself. And once upon a time, years ago, I worked with a photographer. His name's Dan Lippett. He's in Metro Detroit. I think he's on LinkedIn. If someone wants to tag him and go ahead. But I remember he would say, he'd always do executive headshot photo sessions, and every person he worked with, probably like 95% of the time, they would hate looking at themselves on pictures. And he would always explain it's a good thing. That means that you have humility over yourself, right? And he's like, the people that like looking at themselves are kind of narcissistic. So the fact that I don't want to see myself on video is a normal human condition to have. But at any rate, I do like doing live video because it does help me to connect with you. And hopefully you have gained some additional insights from all of this here today. Let's see. I want to see if there's any final questions or comments that came in that I did not get to answer. I saw Gail talking about sweet potato pie. We were asking that question earlier. And William did have a question. Let me just answer this for you, William, as we wrap up. William says, "I don't have a camera on my rather old computer, but of course I have my phone. I expect many and sometimes all interviews are remote currently. Can I use my little phone or must I invest in a PC camera?" Excellent question, William. And I want to I'm going to answer the question with a question as well. What job title level are you at, if you would be open to sharing? And I'm going to pull up this website as I talk a little bit about technology, because I'm frequently asked about, the technology that I use for my business or technology that I would recommend. And you might be thinking, William, that it's really expensive to purchase equipment, things like that. So let me just pull this up real quick. It's going to take me just a second to find oh, here it is. It's called "Hey Brenda, what tech do you use?" And I'm going to close this. So I'm frequently asked questions about technology, and I'm going to drop this into the LinkedIn chat right now, and I'll try to pull it into YouTube later. So you might be thinking it costs a lot to get a camera, right? Well, William, because of Amazon, you can actually get a camera for not a lot of money. So this is the webcam that I have invested in personally. Now, when I first purchased this, it was pre-pandemic. I haven't looked up the price lately in this one, but when I first purchased it, it was like $69. Okay. Um, Let me just click to go onto the Amazon link and see if the price is still the same or if it has come down at all. And then I'll share the screen with all of, oh my goodness gracious. Are you ready for this, William? You're not going to believe this. Guess how much this costs now? It actually went down. The price of this is now, oh, I didn't load. Let me try that one more time. It's only $67 now. So I think about, William, when you are getting ready for a job interview, how much are you spending on a suit, resume paper, right? You probably have a nice portfolio or padfolio that you bring in with you to the interview. So we make investments in things related to support our job search. So we appear to be a quality candidate, right? I want you to focus on that quality candidate. So think about the job title level for positions that you are applying for. And I totally get the old computer, not a good camera. My laptop has one. It's okay. It's not great. I have an external webcam, and the camera that I'm showing you on screen from Amazon is the one that I use. It once upon a time it was 69. During the pandemic, it went up, 100 and something. Now it's dropped down to $67 again. I'm going to put this into chat right now. And the way that it works is this particular camera, I think it's got like, yeah, you can clip it on, like you can see the guy, he clips it on the back of his computer screen. Um, and then there's like a microphone thing on both sides. So you're going to get better sound quality with that as well. And what I did is I actually purchased a tripod that it sits on behind my computer. That way I can lift the camera angle up a little bit. And I was told this by, I think it was Matt Dibble. If anyone knows Matt, please tag him into comments, Dibble. But he told me that you should have the camera at or slightly above eye level. So if I were to take my finger and draw like a parallel line, my camera is actually about an inch or two above that. And that's a much more flattering angle than having the camera looking up your nose, right? So, William, you can do anything you want. You do not need to invest in a camera. Yes, you can use your phone. If you do use your phone, my advice to you would be don't hold it like selfie style in front of you because you're going to get that weird wiggly thing. Put it on a tripod if you have one, or prop it up on a bookshelf or something so that it's stationary during the call. And even if it's with your camera phone, flip it sideways so that if you're doing a Zoom interview, everything is going to be landscaped and you don't want to be tiny up and upright. Their view is going to be you in large mode. So let's give them the best view of you possible. However, if you're asking me, what do I recommend? I think you should invest in a camera. That one was $67. You can find other models of cameras through Amazon and other places. I think it's worth the investment in that technology. And check with the person who does your taxes for you, William. You may be able to write off that camera as a tax deductible expense, because there are some different, state um, benefits that are out there. I don't want to say benefits, but when you file for taxes, they'll say, did you have any job search related expenses? And you can say, yes, I had my resume paper, I had my camera, anything that's only used for job search. My understanding is you can write that off. And I'm not a CPA, so consult your CPA on that for details, but it is worth it, in my opinion, to invest in a good camera if you're going to be doing interviews, for the same reason that you wouldn't go to a job interview wearing jeans and a scruffed up sweatshirt. Does that make sense? You want to create a quality impression for yourself in those interviews. So hopefully that helps you out. Yes, you can use your little phone. Just turn it sideways and have it propped up. Have yourself well lit in the interview. If it were me, I would invest in the camera. It's only a $67 unit, the one that I showed you on there. So hopefully that helps you out, William. And I wish you the best of luck with your interviews. I hope it goes well for you. And thank you, Gail, for being on and for sharing that feedback with me. All right. I think I'm going to wrap here for today. I want to thank all of you for joining me. This was part 2 of my Do This Now checklist review. I'm going to be doing a part 3 and maybe a part 4, but I don't know when. So the good thing is, if you are on my VIP email list, I will be sure to share the details with you. I'm going to put the web address back up on screen for those of you who maybe missed that a little bit earlier. If you want to check that out, come on to mellermarketing.com/subscribe, and I'll be including the playbacks of those videos in the future. With that said, I wish you all a wonderful holiday if you're celebrating Thanksgiving. Getting ready to bake some pies today here at my house. I'm going to do a strawberry rhubarb. My daughter says she's going to make a coconut cream. and my sister is bringing an apple pie tomorrow. So it should be a fun day for all of us here. With that said, have a wonderful holiday. And remember, if you get that question, how's the job search coming along? You can say, actually, I just downloaded this really cool checklist I'm working through right now from this woman, Brenda Meller. I saw it on LinkedIn. So you can brag about that to all your family and friends, and hopefully that gets some good conversations started. Have a wonderful holiday, and I look forward to seeing everyone on LinkedIn. And in the meantime, make sure that you are following me here and go to subscribe to my email, and you'll get the notifications coming to you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching.